Good evening from a happy, healthy American Hammers TV, part of the American Hammers Network. Nobody's allowed in my house to watch this live, but you can watch on YouTube if you want to. So that's how we're doing things now. Everything happens behind closed doors. So the usual crowd I have here in the attic is not here. I've sent them all home, and it's just us having an intimate chat on YouTube. So anyway, we want to welcome you to the show. We've got Ray. Now it's just like calling himself Ray Force after I told the story about a douchey guy I know who called himself Ray Force. We have Ray tonight with us from Liverpool. Oh wow, home of
what result?
Yeah, home of poor Adrian's tears tonight.
Yeah,
and we have Corselli who is in Sacramento.
pretty much locked down Sacramento, Northern California.
Locked down, and
Yeah.
Well, they've locked down New Rochelle, New York. I know they've locked down the whole nation of Italy, so that's a much bigger deal. But they've locked down New Rochelle, New York, which is about 25 miles from New York City. The National Guard is patrolling there now and cleaning surfaces, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so welcome to the show. It's Wednesday night. We do this on Wednesday night. We don't have a name for it yet. I called it Iron Wednesday tonight. I don't think it's very good, so we'll change it next week. John from Philly might be on tonight if he hasn't, succumbed to the global pandemic, which we certainly hope he hasn't. Before we get started, as you guys know, we have our website, AmericanHammers.net. Go out and find anything you want on there with pretty much any logo you can think of. All our show logos, Girls in Claret and Blue logo, which is a really cool one. There's some pure West Ham stuff out there that doesn't have any show logos on it. There's clothing, there's accessories, there's everything you ever want. And there's our scarves. We still have scarves. Don't forget the scarves. Proper Claret and Blue American Hammers TV scarves. They look really good. So don't forget. I see the chat room is filling up. Is that Baz? Is that Baz? As in Baz?
As in Baz, my mate from who's a Southampton supporter.
Oh, I was going to say, that's Baz Cox because I had a Baz. I hadn't talked to him in a while, but we welcome Baz with twosies as well. There's Neil in Australia where it's like June or something. Joss, I see Foshizi as usual. So that's good crowd filing in. So we hopefully, John, yes, right. We're okay. Is my thing going to work tonight? Yes, it is. We're okay. Yeah, we're okay for now. I gotta say, I have allergies and it's getting to be spring here, and it's warming up and stuff's starting to bloom a little bit, and so I was sneezing today at work. Good way to get 10 feet of distance between you and everybody else in the room is sneeze a couple of times, but it's just allergies for me. Anyway, yeah, we're okay. So check out our stuff. If you want to be on the show, let us know. Come to our website. Let us know. Come to our social media pages and let us know. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's probably it, I guess. So yeah, we'd love to have you on. We were supposed to have a guest on tonight. He couldn't make it, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll reschedule. If John joins, we'll have him join. And if not, we got the three of us. So I know Ray wants to talk a little bit later on. If you don't mind just waiting a little bit, Ray, we'll talk about the bottom three. Who we think
I wanted Tim to be on because I wanted to have a go at him.
Oh, well, everybody wants to have a go at him. Yeah. Unusual. He'll probably join in the chat room. He can't stay away. Even when he's not on, he's always here. He can't stay away. I see Tebow joining us too. How you doing, Tebow? Hope you're doing well. But I have to say, I think maybe we should talk about this a little bit to start off with. So, I know everybody comes here to sort of take a break from the everyday world, but here in this country, the big college basketball tournament everybody bets on is now going to be played behind closed doors. That's all over the U.S. That's there's 64 teams in it. So what's that? 63 games or whatever it is. They're played all over the country. Selly said we're going to be some played in Sacramento, or there are going to be some played in Sacramento, but you can't go to them. So anyway, the local college hockey team down the street from me, about 10 minutes away, has a playoff series this weekend behind closed doors. Nobody can go. It's starting to kind of hit home a little bit here in the U.S. for sports. We know that the entire nation of Italy is shut down, and that the death toll apparently skyrocketed today from coronavirus. That the number of cases skyrocketed. And Italy is locked down. So I'm just wondering, guys, how much longer do we have for the Premier League until it's at least suspended? Arsenal Man City canceled today because the Olympiacos owner was diagnosed with coronavirus. And he went to the Arsenal match, and of course Arsenal played us after that, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I read a Juventus player was diagnosed with it today. And we hope these people will recover, and I think they will generally, because healthy people usually survive this, right? It's elderly people who've had more trouble or people with compromised immune systems. So I think these athletes will be fine. But what do you guys think? I mean, just throwing it out there. Do we finish this Premier League season? Do we finish it on time? Do we finish it with fans in the stands? If there are no fans at the Olympic Stadium, does anybody notice?
Right.
Is the atmosphere so bad anyway? What do you think? I'll throw it out there. I'll tell you what, Ray, why don't you go, since you're over in you're in England? Give us a feel for what it's like there.
Right. So the government have been preparing us today with a budget for the virus, and they've turned around and said that they're going to give. I work in a bar, as you guys know.
Yeah.
They're talking about giving us, like, I think it was a $3,000 for small businesses, and then they're going to give like tax rebates or employers things. That they are preparing us for us to be shut down.
Are they really?
Yeah.
For you? Yeah.
So whether that happens or not, I don't know. It's kind of scary because, like, anyone could get affected, and that's going to manifest over to the football as well. That's going to start first before it hits the smaller venues.
Right.
So I think we'll probably still play the games, but it will probably be behind closed doors. We might be lucky enough to get it televised, but that's about it.
What do you think is going to happen, Sally? I mean, it's affecting you. You were going to go to some of the games there in Sacramento. Now you can't go. Nobody can go except the players who apparently are expendable.
Right.
What's your take? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it's really interesting because I guess the Premier League try to, take some kind of precaution and not allowing pregame handshakes, which is the most laughable precaution you can have, because you're still A, playing the game, and still B, swapping kits at the end and shaking hands at the end.
Yeah, and they blow the snot rockets the whole game. You know what I mean? Every time there's
right.
He's blowing a snot rocket. It's one of those hits you, and you're going to get it. So yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. And with this first game closing down, especially the game of that magnitude, you have two, worldwide recognizable clubs.
Right.
It's going to be on NBC Sports, nationally televised.
Yeah.
And it was at a good time too. It was going to be around, I think my time was right around 9-10 o'clock. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything for this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if the next step is, behind closed doors, because it seems like that's what everybody else is doing. However, I just think it'd be completely pointless, because you're taking out the entire feel of the game if you don't let fans in. So if you're not going to let fans in, you might as well just shut the season down.
100% feel the same way. I'm with you. I don't want to watch.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it looks like John's wearing a bra.
He's wearing a baby.
Pretty close.
He's wearing his first.
I thought he was wearing a bra.
That's always happening, right?
Fair play. Congratulations, by the way.
But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. It seems like everything else here is shutting down. I think, you have a couple big college basketball tournaments for conferences shutting down. You have the Big Ten and the Big 12. My school, Colorado, is playing in the Pac-12 today in Vegas, and theirs is the only one that hasn't closed down yet. So we'll see. I mean, I saw Tim in the chat say that everything will be fine once people stop freaking out, and I do believe that that's true too. Obviously it's the coronavirus itself is more lethal than the flu, but at the same time, if you just take the same precautions as you would around people with the flu, be just fine. So you still have large gatherings and stuff like that. It's just just wash your hands, you'll be just fine.
Some of the festivals have been cancelled as well, haven't they? like Coachella.
Yeah. Coachella was just canceled. South by Southwest was canceled.
Down in Austin canceled. Yeah, no, there's
Yeah.
industry shows like, we were talking at work the other day about who was going to go to which conferences in the next couple of months. Well, nobody's going because they've all been canceled. So it's kind of I personally tend to think there's more panic than is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see today that there was quite a spike in deaths and cases in Italy and where they've been locked down for a few days. And so I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think, John? What's your feeling on how the where there's now officially a global pandemic is going to affect the most important thing in life, which is football?
Well, listen, I am late tonight because I just got back from Walmart looking for hand sanitizer, and the whole shop is in complete disarray. People are running around with their heads cut off. There's no hand soap. There's no sanitizer. There's no bottled water. People are going nuts.
Toilet
So
paper.
it's just, I tend to agree, Lee. I mean, I think we had a little side chat earlier in the week.
We did.
A lot of this is, the media feeds industry and the government and whatever else, and people feel like they need to be saying something, so they respond, which feeds more of a news cycle, and it just goes around and round and round. So, I don't know. It's a little bit blown out of proportion, but nobody wants to be liable. We're in a suing culture, aren't we? So
Absolutely. Especially
you don't want to be liable.
I mean, so they canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade in Boston, which I don't care about that. I never go. But I mean, the subway's open. The Bruins are playing games. The Celtics are playing games, and so far with fans in the stands. I mean, I'm sure if you go to Downtown Crossing tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of people walking around. There's going to be coughing and sneezing, and people are going to live the way they normally live. So. To me, either you kind of shut everything down like the Italians have, or you just let it go and do your best, And I don't know. I don't know which one is the right answer, but
just to jump on with what Rebecca, apparently in Liverpool, one of my staff said that they saw two people fighting over pasta in the shop.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Well, my wife went to the grocery store today and brought home the largest haul of groceries I have ever seen. I don't know. She must have spent $400. I have no idea how. I didn't even ask how much she spent because I don't want to buy them. But it was a lot of groceries, man. A lot of groceries. So, as I said before this broadcast started, I really don't worry about this, except that my mother is 75 and she lives with us, and she would be vulnerable. So, but getting back to football, which is what we're talking about, Baz, Ravens buddy Baz, there he's a Southampton fan, I guess. He's in the chat room for him. He's with us. So he asked a good question that I think is worth asking that's a little more specific. So say the Premier League season really does end because Serie A is suspended. We don't know when if they'll pick it back up. They can't even leave their houses right now, So say the Premier League season ends. What do you do? Do Liverpool win the title? Is there no champion? Do the bottom three go down? Do we survive in the greatest escape in the history of English football? Does anybody know what happens? And what would you want to have happen?
Ray, you're ancient. What happened during the war?
Oh!
I mean, that's the closest thing, right? That's probably the closest example.
I am, by the way. Ray's a lot younger than I am.
Yeah, he's probably younger than I am as well. That's probably the closest example to what we're talking about here is when you have to suspend play for something that's beyond, human events or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know what you do. What do they do? They must have done something, right? Did they just cancel the season back then?
Well, they didn't have it they didn't play at all during World War I or II, if I'm not mistaken. They just, it was part of the war effort. They just said no football. They had the War Cup and some competitions, but it wasn't it wasn't. You didn't have a league. But the weird thing is you get what are we about 3/4 of the way through? Something like that. So what do you do? I mean, and the other thing is, the Six Nations, the rest of the Six Nations has been postponed until October, which also happened, if you remember, when there was a hoof and mouth disease outbreak in 2001 or 2. It was the year I moved to Europe. Anyway, whenever it was, almost 20 years ago. They had the last couple of matches of the Six Nations in October, so that's happened again. So I don't know. I mean, were they going to play Premier League all summer? Then what do you do with the Euro? Right now you can't have an Italian team go to the Euro, can you? I don't think so. So So
Well, I think one thing that's crazy too, right? Of all the things that's happening this year is the Summer Olympics, and that's in what, Japan?
yes,
And I mean that hasn't really been talked about yet as far as like being canceled, but that would be really interesting. And I was thinking that same thing, Lee, when we were talking about stuff being shut down. Is what would you do with the Euros? I guess to answer your original question, if things were to stop now, I think you could make a case for crowning a champion just because the champion is basically like if
They're so
Man
far.
City were to lose yesterday, I believe that if Liverpool won against Everton this weekend, then they were declared champs anyways. So maybe they're waiting. Oh, okay, yeah. So I mean, they're right there, which would have been crazy if they won against Everton, especially you win the champion in your own derby, which would have been hilarious. But I don't know, because at the same time, obviously, if you if you suspend the Premier League, you're suspending all leagues. So would that mean that all those clubs that are in promotion, especially the first two spots, the automatic promotion spots, what happens with them? What happens with the playoff? Do you just do those behind closed doors, like stop stuff now and just play that stuff? And then even the Prem, you have to decide who's going to get your Champions League spots. I mean, I guess you can kind of take Manchester City out of it because they're not going to be in it next year. But
right, true.
But no, I don't know. I think it's
Rebecca's right.
really interesting.
This could break some smaller clubs.
Right.
So
yeah.
I've got an idea there, Lee.
So yeah, it could break some of these smaller clubs. Yeah,
if it stops it, we're safe. I'll take it.
What's your idea, John?
I got an idea. Maybe it's a little out of left field here. So crown Liverpool champions, right? They basically won the thing anyway, and it gets to mean they get a nice little asterisk next to the name.
Yes, I love the
asterisk history, right?
Yes.
So we're worried about the championship team. So bring up the top two championship teams for one season next season. We used to have 22 teams in the English First Division way back in the day. Let's play one season where it's 22 teams again. And then we'll whittle it down by having an extra large relegation the following year.
So you'd have what was that, a 5-team relegation?
Let's go for a 5-team relegation, Sally. And a playoff spot for the 5th place. Why not? Let's make it super interesting.
Hey, I'm all for it. That's must-see TV right there.
What I reckon they might do is they'll probably have a mini tournament with the bottom 3 teams and the top 3 teams.
Yeah.
And then them 6 teams play each other.
Right.
Whoever goes up, and whoever goes down, goes down.
Yeah, but if they can play, why can't we play every game?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But that's the point. That's my hope. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I think either you're playing or you're not playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely can't extend the season because, like you said, it would run into the Euros.
It'd run into the Euros, and if you, so playing behind closed doors, if you are, if it's a real public health crisis, seems like the only real option here, because I don't think there's anything else you can do. You can't push it to the summer because you run into the Euros, you run into a lot of other stuff. But the Euros more, even the Olympics has a football component to it, even though it's under threes,
which is ridiculous. But yeah,
and another thing too, and I don't want to. I guess it just kind of came to mind is the transfer window. What happens there? Like let's say you get somebody who we're getting from. Well, like let's say we get Anderson, right? Came from Italy. If we're trying to purchase somebody like that, are they able to leave? Is the transfer window even going to be a thing this year? Just go right back in the next season with the teams that you have, extend those expiring contracts for a year. People on loan. What would that do with them? I'm sure you could do transfers in country. I don't think that'd be an issue.
Right. There's there's so many. Like I happen to be, with Ken on this. Ken says the average age of those who died is 81. And I feel as though, maybe if you're over 70, maybe don't be part of a crowd anytime soon.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's smart. Like maybe my mom, my mother's senior group was going to go to one of those Irish step dance, performances. And then they decided not to go. Right. So they're not going to go. And I think that's probably smart. That's probably wise.
Yeah.
But as for everybody else, I think this is a lot of panic that's mostly unnecessary. The thing is, though, the practical reality is it really could, as you said, John, there is a liability question, especially here in this country, but also in the UK and elsewhere. You don't want to be liable for getting 65,000 people together and having half of them contract a global pandemic, So yeah, I think there's so many questions. I just don't think we know how to answer them. But I feel as though there's this weird, like, sword of Damocles hanging over the season. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like at any moment it could just pop and it's over.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this on the show before, but are you guys going to watch games if there are no fans?
Yeah, I don't think
I would.
I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah.
I know, John.
I don't know
Talk
if
about
that's
the
a
show.
Well, and the other question is, if there are no fans at the Olympic Stadium, does the atmosphere change at all? You know what they could do?
Man.
They could just put carpet all the way around, like in all where the seats are. Just put a huge claret carpet around the whole stadium. And,
I was also going to say, I thought Sally made a good point there with the transfers. Does that mean Gold, Sullivan, and Brady are going to love it next season because they won't have to spend any money?
Yeah, right.
And there's no protest at the stadium.
Right.
One thing I did see that was really cool, cool in kind of like a somber way, was Valencia. Yeah, Valencia, they put a statue where a season ticket holder used to sit all the time and had passed away a couple years ago, and they put a statue in his seat. And it was the only person in the stadium for their Champions League match the other day. What Champions League or Euros? Europa League, one of those two. But it was pretty crazy to see that. Yeah, it was just a statue of what the dude always wore to the games in his same spot. But I could only imagine what it would be like to be an athlete, to play a game of that level, Champions League, Europas, whatever the case may be,
right,
in an empty stadium, and then you're watching the game and all you hear is just the shouts and stuff like that.
You hear, yeah.
And
well, Sally, we talked about this before we came on, but and everybody can take a drink because I'm gonna say it, but PSG played their Champions League match, and they were behind closed doors, but they had like thousands of people show up outside the ground with flares and signs and everything else. They just showed up outside the ground, which is right now legal in France, but they did it anyway.
Right.
So, and I've never been a big fan of. I don't like PSG supporters because they have many really sort of deplorable people in that group. However, that was a cool thing they did. I thought showing up like that. They had their party anyway.
Yeah. Why not?
I think there are just so many questions unanswered, but it's weird because there's part of me, in all honesty, that wants to see the season get canceled and no champion be crowned just so that Liverpool can never win the Premier League.
Yeah. That's crazy too, because Juve just went top of their league before the season stopped, but I don't think they were declared champions.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Yeah, I just think they're doing this beautiful irony.
Well, just on Liverpool, I think I mentioned this last night as well. The parade for the Liverpool has been cancelled in the city centre, and that normally brings in about 3 million people. So all the local businesses are going to be struggling like throughout the summer.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's bad. It's for businesses. All this stuff is terrible.
Yeah,
so,
and next week Paddy's Day as well, and they're all being cancelled as well. So I don't think the Irish are going to be flying over. So it's going to hurt all the businesses. So yeah,
it was canceled here in Boston. The parade was canceled here in Boston, and all the local parades in the suburbs were canceled too. So it's definitely going to hurt Boston. There's no doubt about that. Although the lack of damage done to various parts of the city may make up for it. I don't know. But anyway, let's change the subject a little bit here. Ray, you're in Liverpool. You've that's your lot in life for whatever reason. How do we feel? Do we care about Adrian today as a sort of beloved former West Ham player, or do you guys just not care at all? Or are you happy that he made those mistakes because Liverpool lost? How do you feel about Adrian? Do you have any feelings at all?
Well, there's 2 points. The business side of things, I regret it because like last year I took over 50 grand for the Champions League final in this bar, and that's just crazy money. But I think it just proves a point that we needed to get rid of Adrian because, for us he wasn't good enough, and for Liverpool, last night just proved it. He's just not good enough. He's the way he kicked the ball out straight to one of their players, cost them the first goal.
Like that's what Roberto would do.
Yeah, he jumped when he went to save it, and slipped, so he was
Mhm.
nowhere near the ball. I think he's to blame for all 3 goals, to be honest, because I don't think he got near any of the balls for the goals.
No,
think-
he got beat near post for nearly all of them. You know, the second
Yeah.
one that they scored, the first one for Lorente from 20 some odd yards out, the one that he slipped on. Yeah, that was nuts. He just looked like he was on a half-second delay for every one of their goals.
Yeah. Ray, I think you're right. I mean, I think it kind of validates our choice. Now, we've struggled with our keepers, but the problem wasn't getting rid of Adrian. The problem was bringing in Roberto. You know what I mean? And then Fabianski getting injured. But yeah, he didn't look good enough. I don't know, John, did you have emotions for Adrian today, or did you just not care?
This is the first I'm hearing about it. I don't pay attention at all to Champions League because we're never in it. So
Right. No, I feel the same way.
care less.
The reason I knew about it was because some of the other AHTV guys were sending me messages, Facebook messages about it. I wouldn't have known otherwise because I'm like you. I don't watch Champions League because if West Ham aren't in it, I don't really care. But apparently he had a very bad match. He had a howler, whatever you
Oh
want.
yeah,
Well, it seems to
Yeah.
be par for the course for their goalkeepers. So unless they go out and buy another Alisson Becker, I don't know if they're going to solve that problem.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
I did feel bad for him, I'll say, because you especially like if it was somebody that had no affiliation to West Ham, that's just a hilarious situation. And to everybody else outside of West Ham that's not a Liverpool fan, it's just funny because it's just, of course, Liverpool will go out this way, dominating literally almost every aspect of that game.
Yes.
Still give up 3 goals and one thing too, and this is my own rant. 2 seconds. The away rule in European football, the way the tiebreaker is so stupid.
Hate it.
You have aggregate for a reason. Just go off that, and if you have to go to penalties, just do that. But you score 1 goal, and now the home team has to score double that just to move on. It's so stupid. But anyway, yeah, I felt bad for him. But other than that, I mean, that's why you're not here anymore, and that's why you're their backup.
Right, and I hate the away goals rule too. I always have, and a lot of people have argued with me about this, but I don't like it at all. Especially the season I remember when it decided the tie between Inter and Milan when they played in the same stadium.
Oh yeah,
but because one was technically away, it was decided on the away goals rule. Ridiculous. I'm with you on that. So Ray had an idea that I think is a good idea for us to take our minds off of global pandemics and get our minds to much more worrying and distressing things like where we are in the table at the moment. So I want to go do a whip round here and see, and I'm trying to pull up the table myself because I'm trying to remember who's down there with us. Who have you got in the bottom 3? And if you say West Ham, if you think West Ham, then say West Ham. Who have you got in the bottom 3? John, how about you? What do you think?
Let's look up the
Or
league
do
quickly.
you want me to come back to you? Oh, good idea. I'm doing this somebody else because
Well, I think Villa, they've got to be down. They have to be down. Bournemouth have a really tough run of games coming up, and the bottom seems to be falling out of them. So I think they're down. I retract Villa. I meant Norwich. They're
Norwich,
rock
yeah.
bottom and quite a few points behind.
Villa have. I think they play Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken, in their game in hand. So it's not easy. It's not easy. Let me look here.
I think
Yeah,
we've
they
shown
play-
enough the last
Chelsea
2 games.
on Saturday.
Yeah, they play Chelsea on Saturday, but man, they have really struggled. They are really their form is worse than ours actually.
And this is why I didn't get when Tim turned around and said the other day, "Oh, I think Norwich is going to stay up." I was like, Tim, are you realistic? They're like 6 points behind West Ham, Watford, and Bournemouth, so they've
Yeah.
got to win at least 3 games to even
Right.
get near us. The games that they've got, who's just here? Where is it? Southampton, Man United, Arsenal, Brighton. Out of them 4 games, I can see them getting maybe a win out of Brighton because I think Brighton are on their way down. Southampton, I don't think they win against Southampton, but best case scenario is they get a draw. They're not going to beat Arsenal and they're not going to beat Man United. There's no way. And then let's have a look
Watford
at
and West Ham after that.
Yeah.
I think we'll be all right. Judging
good.
by the last few games, I think we're okay. As long as they bring that to the games with the teams around us. I tell you who could get dragged in. If you look at Newcastle's fixtures coming up, they play everybody at the top and then they play everybody at the bottom. And you don't want to play them this time of year.
Tebow sent me a message the other day saying that Newcastle had been dragged into this, and I thought, well, they look too far out for me, but I mean, maybe not, because weird stuff starts to happen, as you guys know, at the end of a season when, you get clubs that are kind of, comfortably mid-table. Maybe they tank a little bit. Maybe they have an Allardyce style, sort of, we're just going to cruise toward the end of the season here. And then, you get the relegation threatened clubs. One of them catches fire. It goes rocketing up the table, finishes like 12th. I mean, a lot of weird stuff happens. All right, so John, give me your three again, if you would.
All right, so I'll take Norwich. I think Bournemouth, the bottom has fallen out of them. As much as I'd like to see Newcastle go down, I think they have enough points now where they should squeeze out a win or two, but they could get dragged into it. For that third place, I think Watford have had a couple of injuries, haven't they, lately? It was Delafeu who got injured.
Yeah,
if they go off the boil, I could see them dropping, and then hopefully we can go steal Decore off of them.
Right. Right. All right, so that's Watford. So I'm sorry. Okay, so that's
Will we be judged on this, Lee, at the end of the season?
No, I'm not even keeping track. I'm just like, no, I'm not even keeping track. But for some reason, I everything you're saying is like immediately exiting my head as you say it. I don't know why. I apologize. I think I was reading the chat room too much. All right, Sully, what do you have? Who do you have?
So I'll take Norwich, which is crazy because I know they had a tough run of injuries in like the prime part of the season. And I was able to see them play in person last year, and they were really fun to watch. But regardless, I think Norwich go down. Honestly, I think Villa will stay up, and I think it's either going to be Watford or Bournemouth and Brighton, because Brighton still have to play. Let's see, which one is away? They have to play Man United, a back-to-back against Liverpool and City. Both of those, I think, are home. I'm not 100% sure. They both might be away. Newcastle and Burnley. And Burnley, what's that?
I'm just getting the fixtures up now for you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they have, just as tough of a run as we do, honestly. I think if we keep playing how we've been playing, including the Arsenal game, I think we'll be just fine. It's unfortunate that we didn't score at all against Arsenal, but the way that we pressed them and the way we just played against them was really encouraging. I think the game against Wolves is going to say a lot because that's not going to be easy. Granted, I don't think any one of the rest of our games are going to be easy because we're playing teams either fighting for Europe football or fighting relegation. So it's going to be a really interesting rest of the season. But I think Norwich definitely, they're going down. And Brighton, too, have 11 draws, which is insane. That's 11 points right there, which is like the only reason they're not already inside relegation. Yeah. So, but I've always thought, you got to get to that magic number of 40 to stay safe. And right now, 40 points gets you ninth in the table, which is pretty crazy. Norwich, Villa, and Brighton. Or you might be able to switch out Villa and Bournemouth. One of those two, and Brighton, I think, are going down.
All right. So I have to tell you, I'm sorry. Yes, Sally, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think that's good analysis. So Ken is telling us in the chat room. Now, Ken's a buddy of mine, and I trust Ken. Ken says Tom Hanks now has coronavirus. This is an unconfirmed report via Ken. Also, Tim, who I think was watching Trump's speech this evening, which obviously Tim said that Trump has suspended all travel from Europe to the U.S.
Hold on, it just popped up on my phone too.
This is American Hammers Network breaking news. Go ahead, Lee.
This is what we do. So Tim says Trump has suspended all travel from Europe to the U.S. with the exception of the U.K. Which is, it doesn't hurt to be an island. Let me just say that historically, it does not hurt to be an island. So
that's a win for Brexit right there.
Yeah,
it's a win for Brexit. It certainly is.
You guys can see it, but that's the story.
Yeah, and so now we have Tom Hanks has coronavirus. He's not a young man. I hope he's okay. I mean, I hope everybody's okay, right? But he's not a young man. He's got to be in his 60s. Anyway,
Wilson would be very sad.
Contracted something else. And now you can't move. You can't. So if you're in Europe, if you're like an exchange student or something over there, I guess you're just stuck. I mean, you could be stuck in worse places.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you're still stuck. So
Well,
yeah,
one of my
kinda rough.
staff, sorry to jump in, Lee. One of my staff is Italian, and because of Brexit, and he didn't apply for his card to stay over it. He's been told he's got to go back, but there's no one's letting him in the country, so he's like in limbo at the moment.
Oh,
right,
wow.
right. Yeah, there's nowhere he can go. Yeah.
It's just like that Tom Hanks movie Terminal.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they brought right a Tom Hanks movie. There you go. See, it's topical.
Right.
They I know that like some of the local schools here had some kids in exchange students in Europe that they brought home like last week because they said you're not going to be able to get out otherwise. So yeah, there it is. Trump suspends travel from Europe to the U.S. So Tim's reporting was spot on. Anyway, again, we're getting away from football here, but the point is, I go back to saying I really don't see how the Premier League continues normally to the end of the season. I just don't. I'm not saying it shouldn't, but I don't think it will. Anyway, bottom three. Ray, who'd you have in your bottom three? Did you give us your bottom three? Did you just do that?
did. Right. So my bottom three, and this is looking at the future fixtures and everything else. I think, I think Sally already said it. Norwich is a given. I think it's going to be Aston Villa. And then I think Brighton's going to be dragged down. I think Bournemouth's going to be able to get out. Watford and West Ham won't be involved in it. But I can see Brighton losing. If you're looking at their fixtures, I think they've got one of the toughest run-ins, Man United.
Yeah.
All right, Norwich is a good point. Then you got this will be interesting about Liverpool. Are they going to be putting out a strong team now?
That's a good question. A very good question. I mean, look, honestly, they are going to win the title. We all know that. They're out of Champions League. I mean, do they just give their under 23s a run out and basically say, like, let's get these guys some, By the way, another little piece of breaking news here. The NBA.
Just suspended their league.
Oh, shit.
The NBA has suspended the season. Now, whether that means for good or for a while, I don't know. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
So what are the details on that, Lee? Maybe we'll give you a second to read it before telling us. Like, is it a case of they're going to play the games later, or they're just not?
One thing I think that fell into that, right, is there was a game that was going to be played in Oklahoma City between Oklahoma City and Utah. And just the game was literally about to start. And then apparently some official came up to the court, stopped the game, and everybody went to the desk and they were kind of discussing what was going on. Apparently one of the players for Utah was sick, Rudy Gobert, if anybody wants to know, but he was sick.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the court at the start of the game, but I guess he was in the locker room. So everybody went back to their locker rooms, referees went to their locker room, whatever, and then they suspended the game. Like I said, right before it started, they suspended the game. Which is crazy too, because the NBA has games being played right now, which I'm assuming they're going to let finish.
Yeah.
There's 3 games going on right now, and I think
the Knicks are winning, so it really is the end of the world.
Yeah,
they're the first league to kind of do well. I suppose the Italian league did, but I will now only make Tom Hanks movie jokes for the rest of the night. So we can say the NBA is in a league of their own.
Funny that we were talking about Tom Hanks and Wilson. The thing popped on my phone. It says Tom Hanks says he and Rita Wilson tested positive for coronavirus. So Wilson's going down with them.
Man,
that's crazy.
She should have played Catch Me If You Can.
I don't see anything. No, my friend Eric texted me this. Now, Eric is a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. I don't see it anywhere. I don't see it reported anywhere, but I see it from Eric. He's a buddy of mine. He's kind of a West Ham guy. He's not somebody just share fake news. And then we got it. Sally, it's on one of our AHTV chats here.
Yeah.
Looks like Chris said it. The NBA just suspended the season. Suspended, canceled, two very different things. I have no idea which one is which. This stuff is getting real, man. It's like really real. And again, I think it's mostly panic, but it doesn't really matter if we shut everything down. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get too distracted, but yeah. So I guess I'll give you my 3 to go down. Not go down to coronavirus, but go down to the whichever one is worse. I'm not really sure. You know, I still have this sinking feeling that we're going to go down, which is why I keep secretly hoping the Premier League season will be suspended. Because I just feel I hate the fact that every week, except Southampton, every week we find ourselves saying, "Oh, good performance," but we didn't get anything out of it. We didn't get 3 points out of it. Do you know what I mean? That really
victories.
We got to have points. I don't care how good we look. We have to have points.
Yeah.
I think Norwich are down. I think if Villa lose to Chelsea, especially if they give up 4 goals to Leicester, the other night. That is devastating in a relegation battle. I mean, that puts them 7 goals behind us, and of course, that's not an insurmountable, a number, but it's a lot. I think Norwich are down. I think Villa are down if they lose to Chelsea. I think. I think Watford have the players to stay up. I'm not sure Bournemouth do, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I had to pick a third that's not West Ham, I'd probably say Bournemouth. I think Brighton, they have a really good goal differential. Brighton have a goal differential of -8, and everybody else is 15 or worse. And that's probably plus they have 2 points on all the rest of us. I think they probably sneak by with that. So honestly, the bottom 3 right now look like the 3 to go down to me. If we can actually pick up some points, and I had to pick 3 that aren't West Ham, I would probably pick Bournemouth, Villa, and Norwich. I think Watford have the players to survive, and I think Brighton have the goal differential to survive, and everybody else is pretty far removed. So, anyway, that's
Lee. Just looking at April fixtures, there, can you not see that? 3 of them teams out of 4, we can definitely get points out of, if not 9 points.
Of course, I do. I mean, but here the problem is, listen, we've won 7 games all season, and listen, I know who Liverpool are. I get who Liverpool are. Okay, I get that, but let me just say this: Liverpool, we had a chance to at least get a draw out of that match, and probably should have gotten 3 points. And let's be honest, they don't look like the best team in the world anymore. They don't. They lost to Watford. They lost today. I know it was Adrian who made some mistakes, but I mean, they no longer look like an all-conquering team. We generally created more chances than Arsenal. We keep playing these good, solid performances and getting nothing out of them, and that's what worries me more than anything else. Yeah, I can look and see at the fixture list and see that we should win these games, but we haven't been winning any games. So something's got to change. Do you know what I mean? We've got to get consistent performances game after game. We've got to get everybody clicking all together. No Fabianski, cock-ups. No Antonio putting the ball 15 yards behind Aller when we should score. So it's got to all come together. At no point this season, with the possible exception of Chelsea away and Southampton in this last match, has it actually all come together.
I think one thing too with Liverpool as well, outside of them looking like the best team in the world, I mean, they've definitely benefited from VAR. I think the fight for the champions for this season would have been a lot closer if
there's no question about that. Yeah, I agree.
And one thing I've said too about West Ham, for the remainder of the season, I said we've got to get all 3 points for every home game that we have remaining, because our home fixtures: Wolves, Chelsea, Burnley, Watford, right, and Villa for the rest of the season. Easily all games we can get points out of. I mean, Chelsea will be a toss-up, and depending on how contained we can keep Callum Wilson. Oh no, he doesn't play for Watford. That's my apologies. But regardless, the Burnley match will be tough because they're just like to fight. And then any away game we have, just pick up points. Tottenham, Newcastle, easily 3 points, but it's going to be tough. Tottenham, we have confidence going there. Norwich, that was one of our best played games of the season. It's going to be tough going there, but possible. And then Manchester United, where we always seem to get the shaft but play well. I'm not saying we're going to go undefeated for the rest of the season, but
getting the shaft at Old Trafford, it is at Old Trafford, right?
Yeah, it's at Old Trafford.
Getting the shaft, that's going to happen. There's no way we get 3 points out of that match because it's Old Trafford. I mean, that's historically. No, listen, I mean, yeah, I want to be optimistic too. What I see is that we have 7 wins and 2 of them are against Southampton. It's the only team we could beat is Southampton, And what did we win 4 to start the season? Something like that? 4 to 5.
Yeah.
I mean, our form is abysmal. I'm sorry, but it is. And I know the performances look better, but it just doesn't matter if we don't get points. So that's why, I remain sort of, pessimistic about the whole thing. I don't know. John, you're kind of quiet down there. How's the baby doing? How's she doing?
Yeah, she's great. She's great. The journey of a West Ham fan is being on the road to perdition, where it's constantly. That's another Tom Hanks reference. You're constantly constituted towards damnation, and we're optimistic, and yet things never seem to go our way. So, of all the games that are coming up, Wolves is honestly the one that I fear the most.
I do too.
Yeah.
Consistent out of all the teams that we're going to play, we're the most consistent.
They're 5th. They're maybe the best team we're going to play from here on out.
Yeah, they're a very good team. We know what we're going to come up against. I think we played them well the last time we played them, and we just didn't get the points out of it. Didn't finish our chances again.
Once again,
play them well again. Yeah, I mean that's been the season though, Lee. It's probably. I got to say, it may be the most frustrating season I've seen as a West Ham fan, and I've been down. We've been crap, but honestly, this season we just seem to conspire to lose when everything seems to be going our way. The fixture list has gone our way. It's been very kind to us. We played very big teams at very good times when they've been down. They haven't played so well. We played the worst Leicester team that was second in the table twice within the space of 4 weeks, and we're absolutely crap both times. We played City when they were crap. Honestly, we played Liverpool when they were crap. With that run of games that they've started losing, really should have started 1 or 2 games before that when we played them. But yet again, we conspired to lose those games. So Wolves is probably the most fearful. Chelsea still don't know who they are. They're young. They're inconsistent. They're a good team. We're going to have to be careful. But, young teams lose games. They do.
We know we can beat Chelsea. We beat
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then Tottenham is fucking dumpster fire at the minute, which is beautiful. It is going full Mourinho FC. So
yeah. Play a dumpster fire, John. You know what? Every time we play a club that's out of form, what do? They get back to form West Ham. Every time.
I think there's one team that we placed. I think it's Burnley. Is it Burnley? There's one team remaining on our schedule that still hasn't won in 2020. And, we play them soon. So we'll see what happens there. But
you're right about, this is the worst Arsenal team in decades. Liverpool have fallen off a cliff by their standards anyway. City are frankly not that great this season compared to what they usually are. And these are all, losses. Like that's 4 losses that we've had recently. And we probably should have had maybe 4 points out of those games, right? Win one and draw another. That's not unreasonable. Given their form. We're not doing it. We're not getting it done. And it's always some stupid error or cock up. You know what I mean? It's not that we don't. The frustrating thing is, I think if we played poorly, we could look at it and say, well, let's change the formation. Let's change the players. Let's make a change. You play well and don't win. What do? You send the next team out there the next week. Something else happens. Somebody else screws up. That's the frustration for me.
Yeah.
Well, I reckon against Wolverhampton and Spurs, we're going to make a splash, and then the bottom 3 will catch me if they can.
Nicely done.
I gotta. Poor Tom.
Oh wait, I'm jumping on that.
Yeah, that's pretty good though. That was pretty good. And my StreamYard is starting to crap out on me here, so I can't bring up comments anymore without him. I can't do it. So, but there's some good stuff going in the chat room. I know you guys in the chat room are all reading it, so you can see what it says. Anyway, so let's talk about Wolves then. Let's spend the last 2 minutes or so. So Wolves on Sunday, unless there is an apocalypse between now and then. Wolves on Sunday. What do you do? Same team? Do you play Noble? Do you play Suchek? And what's your formation? What do you think is going to happen? That's a lot to throw into one question, but Ray, why don't you go for it? Start us off.
Well, I don't know if we can bring back Saving Private Ryan Fredericks.
Yeah.
That was forced. That was forced.
Yeah, that was forced. We definitely don't want Fredericks back in the team. The only change I would
You should cast away that joke and not bring it.
Well done.
I finally remembered one. It took me forever to remember one. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, the only change I would make is take Noble off. He needs a rest. He's, and then we bring in Suchek. And I think that's the team. I can see us actually getting a win out of them because they've got the Europeans Championships in 2 days on Thursday, and then
they don't want to go. They don't want to go.
Yeah,
don't send us, but they got to go. So
yeah, exactly. So unless something happens between now and then,
is it at home? Is it at home, or is it? You know what? Now I don't even know. Are they playing?
I believe it's away. Let me just get that.
I think it's away too because I remember one of I love their manager's name, Nuno Espirito Santo. What a fantastic name!
Yeah, fantastic football name.
Beautiful name, honestly. Like the Spirit of the Saints. It's a beautiful name. Anyway, I remember him saying like, "We don't want to go. We don't want to do this." So they're a little freaked out as it is. What's that? Tomorrow. That's tomorrow. Yeah, they're going to Olympiacos. Oh, the great. Oh God, they're going to They're kind of going into that Mediterranean, belly of the beast there.
They'll be all right. They're not going to be playing in front of anybody.
Well, that's true, unless one of the Greek players has it. Which, anyway. Yeah, so I can see what you're saying. Yeah, they could be a little distracted. They could be a little tired, whatever. And, yeah, you said Suchek, and other than that, same starting 11?
Same team, same bench. Yeah.
What do you think
off there?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we've got enough to pour for a winner there. Just because I think it's going to be it's just getting to that time of the league where it's a bit too much for the teams in Europe that have got smaller squads. Even though Wolves have done fantastic, and on their day they could easily beat us, but I feel like we might just have too much in the tank to just pull out a 2-1 win.
I mean, do you think we're due? I think the whole idea of being due in sports is kind of ridiculous, but in a way, if you look at the way we performed, the Liverpool match, and of course we beat Southampton, then we played well against Arsenal. I feel as though we're due for it all to come together at some point. Do you know what I mean? Everybody plays well. Everybody has a good performance, and it comes together maybe on Sunday. I don't know.
We definitely need a big performance out of the team.
Yes.
You guys see it. Somebody in the chat room put that up there. All right, John. Where are you again, John? Tell me where you are. Where are you located?
King of Prussia, right near.
No. You're in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Damn it.
John is in Philadelphia. So is Wally. Where they're in Philadelphia. So John in Philadelphia.
Listen,
what do you have for Sunday?
Get ready for this one. So I think the biggest thing we need to do is come together as a crowd, like we have the last few games, another protest, and make sure that stadium is an absolute inferno.
Hey,
what we need to do. So,
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Like that. It gets better. So the best part about Upton Park was that the fans were extremely loud and incredibly close.
Oh, so good.
So we need to recreate that atmosphere at the Olympic Stadium, not just for this game, but going forward the rest of the season to make sure that we can survive here. With the player personnel that we have, we've got a couple of angels and demons.
Hey.
But I think it's time to pull Noble, get Suchek in there. He's full of legs, that fella. You watch him, he's awkward the way he moves, but he's full of legs.
Wait, is that a Tom Hanks reference?
No, that one's not. I'm off of Tom Hanks now. I'm actually semi-serious.
Old ZZ Top song, I know that much, but I can't tell anymore. So,
but no, I'd like to see Suchek. I think we've got to keep playing direct. That seems to be the only style that's suited us lately. And as bad as Antonio missed his chances, he's the most effective player we have at the minute to scare other teams and at least create space for others. So,
Oh, you absolutely. I actually saw the
him
question.
and Bowen.
I actually saw a question on Hammer's polls as to whether Antonio should start. And I'm like, of course he should. What? Of course he should. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. He had a cock up. I get it. I mean, so did Fabianski a couple weeks ago. I don't take them all. I don't take Antonio off. No way. He has just too much energy. Yeah, no, I think it's ridiculous to think that he wouldn't play or wouldn't start. All right, so sorry, John. Go ahead. I didn't mean to break in like that.
no, that was it. I can't think of any more films. Maybe
ran
Sleepless
out-
in Seattle if we move. I don't know.
You ran out of the IMDb entries there. John's got his tabs up with IMDb. Sully, what do you think about Sunday?
Yeah, so I would keep the same starting 11 outside of Noble, put Suchek in. You know, nobody can run the Green Mile better than him. So other than that, I would say
Oh, wait a minute! You slipped that one in. I was like, "What's the Green Mile?" Oh, now I get it.
right. But no, in all seriousness, I think, you know, Wolves are an incredibly physical team. You know, and it's crazy too, just to see like they've only won 3 more games than we have, but they've lost a lot less games than we have. But they just a solid play. You know, they all play for each other. They're physical. You know, they're tough to break down. Honestly, I could see like a 2-2 draw, 2-1 win in a very ugly back and forth match, but I don't want it to be one of those games to where we are playing on the back foot again. You know, like it's cool against the bigger teams, you know, if you're going to play for the counter, but you know, you're like, you know, how we did against Arsenal and Southampton, but at the same time, like this is a team that we can, you know, at least fight for even possession, you know, 50-50, but as long as it's quality possession, no matter how much we have, I'll take it. But yeah, I think Suchek needs to play this one. You know, maybe bring Noble in last few minutes if we're trying to secure a win. But by securing a win, I mean like we have a lead at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So
Say we managed to get up a couple of goals, right, which doesn't happen very often. Then maybe you know, maybe Noble comes in to see it out. I don't know. Yeah, but no, I think you're right. I think it's got to be, you know, you got to bring Suchek in for Noble. Everybody else should be the same, and hopefully we get it all together this time.
mhm.
I mean, West Ham is like a box of chocolates. I hate that movie. I'm sorry. I love Tom Hanks, but I hate Forrest Gump. It's one of my least favorite movies of all time. Everybody's gonna hate me for that. Sorry, it's just true. Anyway, yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. I really fear this match on Sunday because I think they're much, much better than we think they are. We see the name, we see the badge, you know, they're not a top 6 club traditionally, but they're sitting 6th in the table. They're fighting for Europe. They're really good. As Shelley said, they're physical. They can score.
Doesn't that piss you off, Lee? Like, isn't teams like this are who we're supposed to be?
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Agreed.
they came in, they've had a plan, they've recruited well, they've spent well, they've spent intelligently. They've, you know, there's forward thinking there, and we just don't see any of that from our club.
Leicester and Wolves, and those are the examples right now, and there have been others, but Leicester and Wolves, Leicester in particular,
Sheffield for this year.
Sheffield United, another one this season. We could be those clubs. There's no reason why we shouldn't be one of those. There's no reason why West Ham, the only reason we're not fighting for Europe is because of our owners. We have the support. We have the stadium, at least the size of the stadium. You know, I know the atmosphere is not great, but we bring in a lot of revenue through the stadium. We have the global support, which is obvious for the number of people watching here tonight, where we're sitting doing this. We have the merchandise sales. We have the cachet. We have, you know, the name recognition, everything but the owners and everything but the foresight. And yeah, it does piss me off, John. It does, because I look at them and I think, who are Leicester? You know, I mean,
Right.
who are Leicester to have won a title in the last, you know, 5 years, to be looking like a club in Europe again. It's insane to me, you know.
Those teams just have cracked the Da Vinci Code. That's all.
And they've got a great partnership like Turner and Hooch.
Now, see, that was
No, but in all seriousness, it is
More
frustrating
organic than
because
that.
that's
Gotta be more natural than that.
right. I mean that's exactly what we should be. With regardless of how you feel about the board with the players that we've brought in, the money we've spent, the players that we have on the team now. I mean, you look at just the spreadsheets. If money does truly talk, we should be fifth, sixth. This year fighting for a Champions League spot. Because why not?
And
I
a lot
mean,
of people thought we would be. Remember at the beginning of the season, Sally, a lot of people thought we would be. A lot of actual pundits, not just
yeah.
like us.
And that's the thing, man. And I don't know what it is, because it's something that's been happening for a while. You bring somebody high profile, your Allairs, your Andersons, your whoever they may be, and then they get here and their production just disappears. With the exception of maybe like a Payet and early Arnautovic, and I know we've been able to have like a Song from Barcelona was a great player to watch and stuff like that, but they come here and just disappear, and I understand too you have that transition to the Premier League because it's not an easy league to fit in to, but still, I mean, Anderson at the end of last year was great. You could watch Nutmeg mixtapes on him for the whole season, and then come into this year, confidence is gone, nowhere to be found. Now he's on the bench. That's a $40 million man you have as a sub, and nobody has that unless you're like Manchester City, top six. So it's just frustrating to see, like we should be these teams, and they're essentially taking our spots because we're not taking advantage. Last year we had every opportunity for top seven. Never took the chance.
Over and over again. And every time we did, Sally, remember, every time we did, Pellegrini would come up with some bizarre starting 11.
Yeah. And
I remember going to, it was about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, that we went to Premier League Mornings in Boston, the Premier League event. And, poor David from Boston Hammers is reading out the West Ham starting 11 on national TV. He's just like, he's just in total, he's in shock, If you can find the clip of it, he's like, what? He can't believe it.
Well, and Wolves have been fighting for Europe since they've been promoted. Well, maybe not since they've been promoted, but for the last couple of seasons, they've been fighting for it, just because they're consistent. And, how many internationals they have on their team? Who do they have on their team, outside of like Jimenez and a couple of the other guys that but
nobody you can think of. Yeah, nobody.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. We have starting internationals throughout our entire roster.
Right.
And we're fighting for relegation. Like, what is that?
We're the New York Mets of the Premier League. If you guys, I'm not a huge, you guys know I'm not a big baseball fan, but I am a Mets fan, and which is sort of appropriate. The New York Mets have historically signed big money free agents who have just bombed as soon as they've gotten
or got hurt.
Or gotten hurt, right. Or gotten hurt, yeah. And they've made these gigantic deals and massive contracts, and it's never ever worked. It's just a disaster every time. We're the New York Mets of the Premier League. It's frustrating because as you said, Sally, Felipe Anderson sitting on the bench as one of our most expensive players ever, a guy who has actually been called up to Brazil a couple of, I'm not sure he's had a cap for him, but he's been called up to the squad. Brazil, I'm not talking about like, I don't know, like Albania here. I mean, Brazil. So, it's frustrating that we're in the situation we're in. I personally don't think we'll win on Sunday. I desperately hope we do, but I think a draw is our best result, and that's pretty much all I'll say about that. I think Wolves are a cut above us, and they're a cut above Arsenal, and they may be a cut above a lot of clubs in the Premier League right now. And I haven't really looked at their form, but
yeah, it'll say a lot for just how we play in that game, win or lose, honestly.
Yeah, it will. Well, the thing is, I don't care. I'm gonna go totally counter to the West Ham way, right? I don't care how bad we look. I just want 3 points. Usually we say as long as it looks good, it's beautiful. I don't care if we win or lose. I don't feel that way anymore. Not now. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if it is Allardyce ugly. I don't care, which it won't be. But I don't care if it I just want 3 points. So that's all that matters to me.
What's in the cup, Ray?
It's just a coffee. One of the girls brought me a coffee.
Oh,
dude, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So
oh yeah, I saw Neil in the chat earlier saying, "Why is everybody's clocks ahead in the U.S.?" that's funny.
We're just
it's weird too because daylight savings happens like a month later in the U.K. than it does in the U.S. and it doesn't even happen in the state of Arizona. They don't do it.
They don't do it in Indiana either. Yeah, they don't do it in Arizona or Indiana. They just stay where they are. I hate daylight savings time, and to be honest, I would be happy to get rid of it. But we did some years, about 10 years ago, I think we moved it up here to March. That was George W. Bush moved up daylight savings time to March to give us a little more, a little less depression in the winter.
Right.
Yeah, and so now our times are all messed up on when we play when West Ham play, right? Should be Saturdays at 10. Well, it's not. It's anyway. It's a mess. So this has been really an exciting and somewhat terrifying night of news and views, and I don't know what else.
I don't think we broke more news on this show ever.
Seriously, I mean, we have
It's must-see TV. Like and subscribe.
Right. Yeah, seriously. Tell your friends if you want real news, no fake news, but real news, real TV news. It's right here on American Hammers Network, part of American Hammers TV, or I think I got that mixed up.
Just a quick question for you guys, because you're all Americans. Is this going to affect the elections?
Oh, what about John?
Oh,
I got both citizenships. I'm good. Yeah.
is this not going to affect the elections? And
Good.
It could, yeah. I mean, voting polls, mass gatherings. Maybe they just pop up more, but yeah, I'm sure it would if it lasts that long.
Could affect the Democratic primaries, yes, it could. Which a lot of those are probably still half of them have probably about half of them to go.
It already stopped people from going to a debate between Biden and Sanders.
Yeah,
so you haven't seen a conspiracy theory until Trump cancels elections. You wait until that happens. Oof.
Right.
Oh, I don't even want to get into it, but yeah, I mean, well, the conspiracy theories that are out there now are all pretty darn good, so there's a lot more to come. There's a lot more to come. I can't wait until we're all on lockdown. This is fantastic. Where'd you get that?
It's on Twitter. I was jumping up with Trump on it.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is trending right now.
So I thought I'd just share that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to get real. It's going to get real. You know what? I kind of think it's all going to blow over in a few months, to be honest. I kind of do. Of course, that's only if we actually know how to handle it. But anyway, my biggest concern, obviously, right now is the Premier League.
Right.
Not the health and welfare of 7 billion human beings, but the Premier League. What's it going to do to the Premier League?
Well, I think one thing that'll be interesting too, obviously with Italy shutting down, and that's no small league, and you have Spanish teams playing behind closed doors. What's going to happen if every league shuts down? Are we just going to repeat what's going on? Like I said, same thing with transfers. Does nobody move? No, and what about the player? I mean, the players have to go to different grounds, have to travel, have to get on buses or planes or forms of transportation. I mean, so do we just sacrifice? I guess my question is, if it's too dangerous for a fan to go to a game, when does it get to be too dangerous for the players to go and to travel? It's not rocket science. What happens to them? I heard a Jazz player tested positive, Sally. I think you were talking about that earlier. Yeah, Rudy Gobert, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. What happens? Why it seems as though we're like telling the players, like, you can travel around and play in stadiums and, sweat on each other and whatever it is you do.
They'll shut that down one day. I mean, look at these players aren't human anymore. They're assets, right? To these huge multi-million, multi-billion pound corporations, whatever you want to call them. And once they start looking at them as assets, they'll wrap them in cotton wool.
Yeah. Klopp was saying something to that effect too. Earlier, somebody had asked him, like, how do you feel about possibly playing games behind closed doors and all that. And he was saying the same thing. He's like, these are football players, but they're still just people.
Right.
So it's like, what's the, like, they're not prone to getting this disease. Or maybe prone might not be the right word, but, even today, when his team was coming out of the field, some fans are trying to high five the players and Klopp is coming out. He's like, why are you putting your hand out? Like, they're not going to touch you, kind of thing.
Right. No offense or anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
Foshizi says Denmark is closed schools and universities. Our UMass Lowell down the street here where my wife works, you got to love this, okay? My wife works at UMass Lowell. So the school has shut down live classes for the rest of the semester, and they're all going to be online.
Yeah.
But the faculty and staff don't have to go to work. So, in other words, the healthy 18 to 22-year-olds, least likely to be affected by something like this, are excused from showing up because of the dangers of all being together. But all the faculty members who are like 75 years old, for some reason, they have to show up. I mean, does it make sense at all? It doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Yeah, CU's doing the same thing. All their classes are online. Then Colorado State, they're not doing anything. The semester pretty much is just done with until either coronavirus stops or the school season or semester is over with. But yeah, it's just crazy too, because you think about it, like on a level, you have the people that aren't going to class for the reasons or whatever. Teachers might not be teaching, but you have, okay, well, the people that work in the cafeteria, what are they going to do? The people who drive the buses in the city, who take the students or whatever, what are they going to do? So, hopefully people still get paid if they don't have to work,
That usually happens.
Can I change my previous statement?
Yeah.
So professional clubs will look at their players as assets and protect them. Whereas our fucking clown show of a club thought it was okay not to tell Mikel Antonio not to drive a fucking Lamborghini in a snowman costume.
Right.
We'll probably just let him high five and lick doorknobs for the rest of the flu season.
Yeah.
They're going to have a training session in Italy. They're going to go to China for a goodwill tour.
They'll announce the Chinese tour. Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, the Betway Cup in China.
Wuhan United. It's coming. It's coming. I mean, anyway.
Duncan makes a great point, though.
Darren says we should call this a Corona show. I'm sorry we talked about it so much. It's just so much happened like in the last hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just happened in the last hour that it was hard not to talk about it. Anyway, I do have to make lunches for the boys who are still going to school tomorrow, as far as we know, and it's about time for us to go. But anyway, Ray and John and Sally, thanks very much to you guys for being on. Everybody in the chat room, huge chat room tonight. Great participation.
Chat room was great.
Fantastic chat room. Really appreciate everybody who showed up. Anyway, we will talk to you on Sunday night. Well, I'm sure there's shows between now and then, but I don't know what they are. Friday Night Lights, so John, right?
Friday Night Lights. Tournament of Champions, 8:30 Eastern time.
There you go, 8:30 Eastern time. Tournament of Champions. Who's on? Do you know who's on this Friday?
Not off the top of my head. I should, but Tim does the scheduling.
Well, Katie was in the chat room tonight, and Katie was a winner, I believe, in the last one, wasn't she?
She was. She has an outstanding performance, and she was actually the chat room's extra points. So people that watch the show also get to vote for who they think win. Yes. And if the chat room deems it that you won, you get 2 extra likes. And Katie edged everybody with the chat room vote this weekend, last weekend. So it was great.
She's your neighbor. She's in Philly too, right?
She is. She's just down the road.
Yeah. So Friday Night Lights. I don't know if we're doing anything tomorrow night, but definitely Friday Night Lights at 8:30 Eastern. John, the magnificent host of Friday Night Lights, he does such a great job. And other than that, we'll see you Sunday night. I think we'll probably there's usually a post match on Sunday, so that'd be in the morning. We'll be on 9 o'clock Sunday night if we're all still alive. In the meantime, wash your hands, don't breathe on each other, and come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Boys, check your inboxes. You got mail.
Okay, I will do that.
It's Tom Hanks' league.
Oh, damn. I'm cutting you off. I was like, I don't see anything. Nothing's popping up on Gmail. All right, whatever. Goodbye.
John, that was the best one I've